The world was at peace, or so it seemed. 3 months had passed since Goku's sudden disappearance, leaving his family and friends in uneasy silence. The Z-fighters had grown accustomed to his absence over the years, but this time felt different. There was no warning, no farewell. Just emptiness. Gohan, now a seasoned warrior and scholar, had taken it upon himself to protect Earth in his father's stead, training relentlessly to push beyond his limits. Meanwhile, his younger brother, Goten, and Trunks continued their own training, though the urgency had dulled without a looming threat. That changed in an instant. The attack came without warning. A blinding streak of energy tore through the sky, striking the Sun family home with devastating force. Gohan barely had time to react, his instincts kicking in as he shielded Pan with his body, the shockwave sending them both tumbling across the scorched earth. Smoke billowed, obscuring the carnage. When it cleared, Goten lay motionless, his small frame broken. Gohan's breath caught in his throat. Rage, cold and unrelenting, coiled in his chest. A figure emerged from the smoke, tall and clad in armor that shimmered like obsidian. His aura was oppressive, a suffocating weight that made the air itself tremble. Pathetic, the warrior sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. The legendary Saiyan bloodline, reduced to this? Gohan's fists clenched, his nails biting into his palms. He had faced monsters before, Cell, Buu, gods, but this was different. This was personal. Without hesitation, Gohan lunged, his fist aimed at the invader's face. The warrior sidestepped effortlessly, countering with a knee to Gohan's ribs. The impact sent him skidding back, pain flaring through his torso. Gritting his teeth, Gohan forced himself upright, his aura flaring to life. Golden energy erupted around him, his hair spiking into the familiar glow of a Super Saiyan. But the warrior only laughed. "Is that all?" he taunted, vanishing in a blur. Gohan barely dodged the next strike, the air itself splitting from the force of the missed blow. He retaliated with a rapid volley of ki blasts, each one exploding against the warrior's raised forearm. The smoke cleared to reveal the man unharmed, his smirk widening. Weak, he spat before launching forward, his fist connecting with Gohan's jaw. The ground shattered beneath them as Gohan was driven into the earth. Blood trickled from his lip, but his eyes burned with defiance. He wouldn't fall. Not here. Not like this. With a roar, his aura surged again, the golden light intensifying, his muscles swelling with power. The transformation was unlike anything he'd felt before, his hair lengthened, his energy spiking beyond Super Saiyan 2, beyond even Super Saiyan 3. A new level. Super Saiyan 6. The warrior's smirk faltered. Impossible, he muttered, but Gohan was already moving. His fist connected this time, sending the invader hurtling through the air. Gohan pursued, his movements a blur of golden light. A devastating elbow to the spine, a spinning kick to the ribs, each strike landed with brutal precision. The warrior crashed into a mountainside, the rock collapsing around him. Panting, Gohan hovered above the rubble, his fists still crackling with energy. But the fight wasn't over. The warrior emerged, his armor cracked but his resolve unbroken. "You're stronger than I thought," he admitted, wiping blood from his mouth. "But strength alone won't save you." His aura erupted in a violent crimson, the ground trembling beneath him. Gohan braced himself. This was only the beginning. The air on Earth hung heavy with tension as the Z-fighters gathered at Capsule Corp, their faces grim. Bulma's monitors displayed the last known energy signatures of Goku before his mysterious disappearance 3 months prior. Piccolo crossed his arms, his brow furrowed. "We still have no leads on Goku, and now Gohan's gone into hiding after achieving Super Saiyan 6. Whatever's coming, we're not ready." Suddenly, the ground trembled. A shockwave rippled through the city, and in the distance, a towering figure descended, Broly, his emerald hair flickering with unstable energy. But something was wrong. His eyes, once wild yet discernibly aware, now glowed with a malevolent crimson. Vegeta clenched his fists. That's not just Broly. Someone's controlling him. Before anyone could react, a familiar voice echoed through the chaos. "How touching, seeing you all scramble like insects." Frieza landed gracefully beside Broly, his smirk dripping with malice. But this wasn't the Frieza they knew. His aura pulsed with an eerie, unfamiliar power, his form slightly altered, more refined, more sinister. "Did you miss me?" he purred. Piccolo stepped forward. "Frieza? How?" Questions, Frieza interrupted, waving a hand dismissively. "Let's just say I've had help from an old acquaintance." He snapped his fingers, and Broly roared, his muscles bulging as he lunged. The Z-fighters scattered. Vegeta dodged a planet-shattering punch, countering with a rapid volley of ki blasts. Piccolo, distract him. Goten, with me. The young half-Saiyan nodded, darting forward as Vegeta feinted left, allowing Goten to land a crushing kick to Broly's ribs. But Broly barely flinched. Instead, he grabbed Goten's leg and hurled him into a nearby skyscraper. Piccolo extended his arms, weaving a Makanko Sappo. Eat this. The spiraling beam tore through the air, but Broly caught it with one hand, crushing the energy like glass. Piccolo's eyes widened. Impossible. Frieza laughed. Oh, this is just the beginning. He raised a finger, firing a death beam straight at Bulma. Krillin barely deflected it with a Destructo disc, his arms shaking from the impact. We can't hold them off alone, he shouted. Just as despair threatened to take hold, a streak of golden light split the sky. Gohan descended, his aura blazing with the raw power of Super Saiyan 6, his hair a shimmering silver blue. His eyes locked onto Frieza. You. Frieza's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. Ah, the prodigal son returns. How? Unfortunate for you. Gohan didn't waste words. He vanished, reappearing behind Frieza with a thunderous elbow to the spine. Frieza gasped, crashing into the ground. But before Gohan could press the attack, Broly intercepted, their fists colliding in a shockwave that leveled the surrounding buildings. Vegeta seized the opening. Now. He and Piccolo unleashed a combined Big Bang Kamehameha, the dual beam engulfing Broly. For a moment, it seemed to work, until Broly emerged, his body crackling with even more power. Gritting his teeth, Gohan realized the truth. He's feeding off our energy. We need to end this fast. He raised a hand, channeling his ki into a single, concentrated point. Everyone, give me what you've got. Krillin, Piccolo, and Vegeta didn't hesitate. They poured their remaining energy into Gohan's attack, the sphere growing brighter, hotter. Frieza's eyes widened. No. Gohan unleashed the blast. The world turned white. When the smoke cleared, Broly knelt, dazed but alive. Frieza, however, was gone, vanished without a trace. Panting, Vegeta scowled. This isn't over. Gohan nodded, his gaze darkening. No. It's just getting started. And in the shadows, unseen, a pair of glowing eyes watched. Waiting. The battlefield was a wasteland of shattered rock and smoldering craters, the air thick with the scent of burning earth. Gohan's golden hair flickered with streaks of deep crimson as he hovered in the air, his muscles straining under the weight of Super Saiyan 6. Across from him, the mysterious invader, Zorath, grinned with unnerving calm, his obsidian armor absorbing the sunlight like a void. You've grown stronger, son Gohan, Zorath mused, flexing his fingers, but strength alone won't save you. Gohan's fists clenched. 3 months had passed since his father vanished, and now his little brother, Goten, lay lifeless in the ruins below. The grief was a storm inside him, but he couldn't afford to falter, not when Earth's fate hung in the balance. You'll pay for what you did, Gohan growled, his voice trembling with fury. Zorath's laughter was a blade through the tension. Oh? Then show me. In an instant, he vanished, reappearing behind Gohan with a vicious elbow to his spine. The impact sent Gohan spiraling into the ground, the earth splitting beneath him. Pain flared through his body, but he pushed through it, rolling just in time to evade Zorath's follow-up strike, a ki blast that vaporized the ground where he'd been. Gritting his teeth, Gohan channeled his energy into his palms, unleashing a blinding Kamehameha. The beam roared toward Zorath, who simply raised a hand, his smirk never fading. The energy collided with an invisible barrier, dispersing harmlessly into the sky. Predictable, Zorath sighed. You Saiyans rely too much on brute force. Desperation clawed at Gohan's mind. He needed a new strategy. As Zorath lunged again, Gohan feinted left before twisting mid-air, driving his knee into Zorath's ribs. The armor cracked, just slightly, but it was enough. Zorath's eyes widened in surprise before Gohan followed with a point-blank Masenko, forcing him back for the first time. Panting, Gohan pressed his advantage, raining blows on Zorath with relentless precision. But just as he prepared a finishing strike, a voice echoed in his mind, Piccolo's, strained and urgent. Gohan. He's not the real enemy. He's just a pawn. The revelation struck like lightning. Gohan hesitated, and Zorath seized the opening, driving a fist into his gut before slamming him into the ground. Dust billowed around them as Zorath loomed overhead. Did you really think this fight was about you? He sneered. Your father's disappearance, your brother's death, it was all to lure him out. Gohan's blood ran cold. Who? Before Zorath could answer, the sky darkened. A monstrous presence descended, shaking the planet to its core. From the swirling shadows emerged a figure, tall, draped in a tattered cloak, his eyes burning with malevolence. At last, the figure intoned, his voice like grinding stone. The last son of Vegeta stands before me. Gohan's breath caught. This was no ordinary foe. This was Morga, the ancient destroyer of Saiyan worlds, long thought dead. And he had been manipulating everything from the shadows. Zorath dropped to one knee, bowing his head. My lord, the bait worked. Morga's grin was a nightmare. Good. Now, let us finish what I started. Gohan's mind raced. His father's disappearance, Goten's murder, it was all a setup. Morga wanted the last pure-blooded Saiyans eradicated, and he'd used Zorath to draw them out. The realization was a knife in his heart, but it also ignited a new resolve. He couldn't win alone. He needed help. With a roar, Gohan unleashed a shockwave of energy, forcing Morga and Zorath back. As they staggered, he tapped his earpiece. Piccolo, now. From the horizon, a volley of ki blasts rained down, followed by the sudden arrival of Piccolo, Android 17, and even a battered but determined Vegeta. Took you long enough, Vegeta grunted, his aura flaring blue. Morga's amusement faded. A futile resistance. Gohan wiped blood from his lip, locking eyes with his allies. We fight together. For Earth. For our families. The final battle had begun. The air crackled with energy as the battlefield trembled under the weight of clashing titans. Gohan's golden hair burned with an eerie blue tint, his muscles straining as he pushed beyond Super Saiyan 5 into uncharted territory, Super Saiyan 6. His opponent, the monstrous entity known as Sarlacc, laughed as he wiped blood from his lip, his crimson eyes gleaming with sadistic delight. You're still holding back, boy. Show me the rage of a Saiyan, Gohan roared, his aura exploding outward like a supernova, the ground shattering beneath him as he lunged forward. His fist connected with Sarlacc's jaw, sending the villain skidding back, but the fiend retaliated with a brutal knee to Gohan's gut, followed by an elbow to his spine. Gohan coughed blood but twisted midair, delivering a spinning kick that sent Sarlacc crashing into a mountain. Meanwhile, Piccolo and Vegeta fought desperately against Sarlacc's elite warriors. Piccolo's arms blurred as he deflected energy blasts, his mind racing for an opening. We need to combine our attacks, he shouted. Vegeta grunted, charging a final flash, his veins bulging as he poured every ounce of energy into the technique. Now. Piccolo unleashed a Hellzone grenade, the orbs homing in as Vegeta's beam tore through the battlefield, engulfing their enemies in a cataclysmic explosion. But as the smoke cleared, the warriors emerged, battered but not broken. One of them grinned, cracking his knuckles. Pathetic. Back with Gohan, the battle reached a fever pitch. Sarlacc's body morphed, his limbs elongating into grotesque, blade-like appendages. He slashed downward, slicing through Gohan's shoulder. Blood sprayed, but Gohan gritted his teeth, his Saiyan blood boiling. You killed my brother. He growled, his aura flaring violently. Memories of Goten's lifeless body flashed in his mind, fueling his fury. His power skyrocketed, the blue tint in his hair intensifying as his muscles swelled. With a deafening cry, he unleashed a Kamehameha point blank, the beam ripping through Sarlacc's chest. The tyrant screamed, his flesh burning away, but even as his body disintegrated, he laughed. This isn't over. The ground split open, and a colossal energy signature erupted from below. A shadowy figure rose, its form shifting between reality and nightmare. Gohan panted, his body trembling from exhaustion, but he refused to fall. No matter what comes. I'll end this. He clenched his fists, his energy surging once more as the true final battle began. The fate of the universe hung in the balance. The battlefield was a wasteland of shattered earth and smoldering craters, the sky choked with dust and the oppressive weight of ki. Gohan's muscles burned, his golden hair flickering between Super Saiyan 5 and something beyond, something raw, untamed. Across from him, the monstrous entity known as Moro Zamasu loomed, his fused body pulsating with stolen energy, his grin a grotesque mockery of divinity. You cannot win, son Gohan, he sneered, flexing claws that dripped with the essence of drained worlds. Your father is gone, your brother is dead. What hope do you have? Gohan's fists clenched, the memory of Goten's lifeless body flashing in his mind, his little brother, cut down before he could even fight back. Rage boiled in his veins, but beneath it, something colder, sharper, resolve. Hope? Gohan spat, his voice trembling with fury. You don't get to take anything else from us. His aura erupted, not just gold now, but threaded with streaks of crimson, his pupils sharpening like a predator's. The ground beneath him cracked as his power surged, the transformation tearing through him. Super Saiyan 6. Moro Zamasu barely had time to react before Gohan vanished, reappearing with a devastating uppercut that sent the tyrant rocketing into the sky. Gohan pursued, his movements a blur, each strike landing with precision, a knee to the gut, an elbow to the spine, a key charged palm slamming into Moro Zamasu's chest. The fused monster roared, lashing out with a wave of corrupted energy, but Gohan twisted midair, dodging and countering with a point-blank Kamehameha. The beam carved through the sky, searing Moro Zamasu's flesh, but still, he laughed. You cannot kill a god. Gohan's breath came in ragged gasps. He was pushing his limits, but so was Moro Zamasu. His stolen energy was unstable, his form flickering between regeneration and decay. This was the opening. Gohan reached deep, drawing on every ounce of pain, every loss, every promise he'd made. He thought of Goten's laughter, Piccolo's sacrifice, his father's unwavering faith. His aura flared brighter, and for the first time, Moro Zamasu's smirk faltered. With a roar, Gohan unleashed his final attack, a technique fused from his father's teachings and his own desperation. Dragon Fist. Ascended. His body became pure energy, a blazing comet of vengeance. Moro Zamasu screamed as Gohan tore through him, the sheer force unraveling his stolen power at the molecular level. The sky split, reality itself shuddering as the tyrant's form disintegrated, his final curse lost in the explosion of light. Silence. Then, the dust settled. Gohan collapsed to one knee, his transformation fading, his body spent. But it was over. The universe, for the first time in months, breathed. In the aftermath, whispers spread across the cosmos, of a warrior who had defied gods, of a new era dawning. Gohan, standing amidst the ruins, felt the weight of it all. His brother was gone. His father was missing. But the fight had forged something unbreakable within him. As he looked to the horizon, a single thought burned brighter than any flame: the future was theirs to protect. And he would not fail again. Word count, 1000.